for the first Sprint Cup Series practice of the day, as cars have already made their way out onto the track. But just moments ago, it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. who addressed the media for almost a half an hour and gave quite a few interesting answers. He kept saying, "Get right. I want to make sure I get right." That sounds so typical of a driver that he just wants to get right, Jeff.
Well, you feel bad. I mean, that's all you want. And when you feel good, you take your health for granted. And when you feel bad and you're having balance issues and you're having those kind of issues, it's debilitating. I mean, it's very, very difficult to deal with. So, you know, honestly, that becomes front and center. It's trying to find a way just to feel better. So everyday life, the things that you take for granted, you know, getting up and walking to your den, getting something out of the refrigerator, those things that you take for granted being so simple are no longer simple. So you want just normalcy back in your life.
Yeah, I thought Dale did a great job of answering the questions with the information he has. I think it's obvious he doesn't have all the answers and doesn't want to assume what could be. He's taking the information his doctors have given him, what the course of actions could be, what the goal is. He was very clear with all that, and I think it was obvious that he really wanted his fans, the media, and all the drivers to hear what he's been doing and that he wants to be back in a race car. I think that's what we consistently heard.
Steve, you experienced this with him as his crew chief back in 2012 when he got out of the car, and this, you could tell, you could see just with him addressing the media how difficult this situation is for him, similar to 2012?
Well, I think he mentioned there, I think the concussions are different. You know, this is a different type of symptoms. I think in 2012, he mentioned, you know, he had to give his brain a rest to kind of be in a dark room. So while we had contact, and we didn't have a lot of contact, because I was trying to listen to the doctors as well, which was hard because crew chiefs are about as patient as race car drivers. And you heard Dale say that his patience is really what he's trying to test here, how calm he can be. But it's obviously difficult for Dale, difficult for the race team. Everybody who's a competitor knows you want to be in the race car doing the best job you can. And it was good to see him at the track, though. That was, I know it was only for a press conference, but a guy that's been at the track his whole life, Jeff, it was nice to see him back at the racetrack.
Yeah, I like his honesty. I mean, you can't ask a guy to give you any more, you know, any more honesty, and he doesn't have to. Like,
right. That's medical information.
Like, he didn't have to come here to take time to sit down and really explain what happened and what's going on and what he's doing to fix it. So he answered every question, didn't dodge a single question, did not give a solid answer for anything, just was as honest as he could be in a difficult situation. You have to respect that.
And as we're watching Jeff Gordon, who retired a year ago, which to me was interesting, Jeff Gordon retired before getting to his 800th start. I thought that was a milestone that maybe Jeff Gordon would like to reach. Well, he will actually reach that on Sunday because now he's substituting for Dale Earnhardt Jr. As we ride around the track with him, one of the I guess the more lighthearted moments of Dale Jr.'s press conference was the last question. When Nate Ryan threw out the "have you thought about this being career-ending," kind of all of that, and he kind of skirted around the word, and then Dale Jr. called him out. He said, "You didn't say the word," and Nate Ryan was like, "All right, retire." And so that was kind of a great way to end that. Was you could see Dale Earnhardt Jr. was lighthearted in that situation, and he cleared it up. He does not want to retire. He has no intentions of ever getting out of the car. He wants to continue to race.
I like the fact that he did go after it and talk about it. And again, he didn't dodge a single question. And you can't ask anything. I mean, he didn't have to come to do that. He came here to do it. The fans need to appreciate his honesty for sure.
All right, a very difficult racetrack in the sense that a repave. Since the last time the Cup cars were here, this racing surface has been repaved. Now we have Jeff Gordon on this track once again. And this is one of the more difficult areas right here as they come down the front stretch and head into turn number one.
Yeah, one thing we've seen is his teammate Chase Elliott drive away from Jeff Gordon. And I heard a lot about Chase Elliott here at the test, being very, very fast, having a lot of speed. So you can see Chase Elliott was behind Jeff Gordon and making a lot of pace. Jeff Gordon knows this racetrack for what it's always been. And now you're coming to this racetrack, new pave, you're going to have to change how you drive the car, where you put the car, when you're accelerating, when you're braking. But for everything we're here, Steve, you're going to have to change throughout the run. Like the tires get better as they go. When you come back in and come back out the next time, they're probably going to be faster again. So this is going to be a constant adjustment for all the drivers.
And make no mistake, Rick, this is a very, very fast road course. So you talk about the lack of downforce versus just last year when Jeff Gordon was here. That is going to affect how these cars handle in the high-speed areas and how the cars drive. I'm thinking probably of the essence of where the downforce is going to affect it the most. But just the whole racetrack is very flowing. There's 3 very long straightaways into 3 distinct passing zones. It's probably one of the fastest road courses we're going to see.
You mentioned speeds, a little bit harder of a tire because of the new racing surface, a little harder tire. The speeds, though, and the elevation change at this racetrack, very, very unique in the sense that you'll go from turn 2, as we're listening to Jeff here. Jeff Gordon celebrating his 45th birthday yesterday. But Jeff Gordon comes in, gives a little information, but the racetrack itself, when you go from turn 2 all the way up to the bus stop or the carousel, the elevation change can be upwards of 500-600 feet. So they're climbing from turn 2 all the way up to the carousel.
Well, and this is the carousel right here where Brad Keselowski's exiting. That's the big, long, sweeping corner downhill the whole way. Now he's coming down the second longest straightaway. You're going to see he's going to move to the left. Looks like the 4 Kevin Harvick. This is probably one of the most distinct left-handers we're going to see. This is turn 6. Jeff going over this short straightaway into turn 7. And this corner is actually way more difficult than it looks. Brad's off the pace here, but because you go from a left to a right, so it's a quick transition from one side of the racetrack to the other.
Now, Brad Keselowski just turning off onto pit road, so the last turn you make a hard right, you're on pit road, and now he's headed into the garage. But last week, when Brad Keselowski was here, he didn't make that hard right turn. He went straight. And he went straight a lot faster than he wanted to because his brakes failed on this front stretch as he was getting into turn 1.
He's in turn 1 right now, and he has no brakes, so there's really nothing the driver can do. Hard, just basically head-on impact into the turn 1 wall. Fortunately, the tire barriers took a little bit of the blow out of it, and he wasn't injured, but very, very hard impact. And Brad talked about needing to try to find a way to make that barrier safer, make it better. We have seen many incidences, see the steering wheel where he's holding on to it, how much it was bent. We've seen several incidences in turn 1 with big impacts. But one thing I love about race car drivers, sorry, I'm going to brag for just 1 minute. He's P4.
That's right.
He's 4th fastest. You know, so head first into the wall, and he comes back here and he's 4th fastest in practice. So it's amazing how quickly you can put those things behind you. And I'm looking at the glove. He's wearing a glove
Under his glove.
Yeah, underneath his fireproof glove. I'm not 100% sure why he's doing that. If he's doing that for extra support, if maybe he injured his wrist a little bit, or sometimes you wear something extra because at the road courses, especially shifting, you can put blisters on your hands. So, you know, when you're shifting, you got your hand on the wheel, all those kind of things, you can actually blister your hand, and you may just be protecting his hand from that.
Yeah, that's unique. I have seen some drivers blister their hands. You know, Brad talked about the safety of these racetracks, and, you know, in my opinion, as fast as the ovals are, they seem to be, I don't want to say easier, but there's a little more opportunity. Let's use that. There's a little more opportunity for the tracks to build some safety in as far as the angle of the wall, soft wall all the way around. Because the cars, while they do change direction, Jeff, you know, at Pocono, they can change maybe 130 degrees in turn 1. The drivers, if they hit the wall, hit at an angle where they kind of continue forward, which is very different than the road courses. When you look at tracks like Watkins Glen, turn 1, a 90-degree corner. We talk about the carousel, a big sweeping corner. You know, these tracks are so different. You go back and look at the history of turn 1. This is Jimmy Johnson. When he has a brake failure, you know, he jumps right over the sand. The sand does nothing to slow him down. A huge impact into the barrier.
Yeah, big impact. I think this is one of the, man, that's just amazing. Gets out on top of his car. He was just happy he wasn't hurt. Denny Hamlin, obviously another brake issue. Again, get on into the wall, into the tire barrier. You saw the Armco barrier move and bend, which actually took some force away. And then right here, this car, the 26 car, it actually got into the tire barrier with maybe not quite as much speed. And you can see he never made as hard of an impact into the Armco. So that's a good example of if we can slow that car down just a little bit before it hits the Armco, it'd be a great thing.
And you look at the evolution of turn 1, the first accident we saw was into styrofoam. The second accident we saw was into tires. The third accident we saw, the tires were moved away from the Armco. So the track has continued to look at and try to improve the situation that is in turn 1.
Basically a big stack of tires wrapped together so they don't come up. I think it's interesting, and you mentioned this after seeing between the barrier and the tires, is for a reason. So when the car barrier, it can move back before it hits the wall. The whole idea is change the angle of impact, which would be great. Reconfiguration of maybe the racetrack and the wall. So let's try to dissipate the energy in the best manner possible. We've seen some very severe accidents. Actually, everybody thinks it's the fastest straightaway. It's the third fastest.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as fast as the backstretch, which you're seeing here, or nowhere near as the straightaway that the 38 right here is going to enter coming out of the carousel. This front stretch is really not the fastest area. It's just downhill. It's in a bad place if you have any sort of mechanical failure.
Move those tires closer to the car, further away from the wall, so the moment of impact takes longer to happen. That's the whole key in reducing injuries, taking the G-forces out, making those G-forces happen over a longer period of time, slowing the car down over a longer period of time. That's the best way to avoid it.
Dissipate that energy. One of the greatest signs that the sport has seen, Dale Earnhardt Jr. walked into the garage to chat with his team back here at Watkins Glen.